My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 73. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guests today are Cosmic Psychos. The legendary punk band from Australia recently released their 11th studio record, Mountain of Piss. In today's episode, we're talking with frontman Ross Knight about the new record, their influence on the Seattle grunge scene, and the Cosmic Psychos wine range. Here we go. Our guest today is the frontman for a legendary Australian punk rock band. They've influenced everyone from Mudhoney to Pearl Jam, and they recently released their 11th studio record, entitled Mountain of Piss. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Ross Knight from Cosmic Psychos. Good morning.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Marvellous.
That's good to hear. Where are you joining us from today?
From the farm. I'm in the office at the farm, looking out the window. Central Victoria.
Oh, beautiful. How is the farm? How is business today?
Wet and battered and bruised from a day of getting firewood yesterday. So a bit quiet today.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. It is Monday. Hopefully you get a bit of an easy start to the week.
Yeah, a few beers will fix that tonight.
Well, speaking of beers, congratulations. The new record, Mountains of Piss, is out now.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make that one. We had as usual, it's probably the best time you can have with the band, is there's the three of us with Mick from Adelaide locked up in the shed for a couple of days doing a record. We have an absolute ball doing it. It's fantastic.
It's a great record. It's the 11th studio record from you guys, which is a very decent output.
Yeah, well, I suppose you can polish a turd. So it's basically we're stuck with the same turd. We've just made it last nearly 40 years.
Look, it's an impressive turd. You have to be congratulated on that.
We're proud of it.
Yeah. When you are coming round to, I think, as I said, 11 studio records, I think 2 or 3 live records, when you're coming back around to get the band fired back up again, how do you kind of approach, starting the machine back up again?
Well, it's pretty easy because it never really turns off. It just splutters and idles really unhealthily, just ticks away there. Like we seem to keep playing regularly. That was a good word. We seem to play enough to just keep it spluttering, and then we just decide, well, every 3 years we just go, well, we should do another record, and we just go, all right. So we just it all comes together pretty quick. I mean, the songwriting process, not that you can tell by the complicated arrangements, but the songwriting process is very easy, very fast, and very quick.
To my understanding, the record was done, or pretty much almost done, end of 2019.
Yeah, we knocked it off, and then we're sort of all getting ready for it to put it out. But then obviously that sort of first or whatever wave of the COVID came in and sort of buggered everything up. So it was a bit of a wait and see, and no one sort of knew where things were heading and that kind of stuff, as we're all still running around now with our hands in the air going, what's going on? It's I think then we, like everybody, we just sort of thought that, something will happen and everything will be okay next year kind of thing. And So that was the delay of getting it out, because we could do another one tomorrow if we wanted to. We've got that much more material because we've just been sitting around, musically wise, sitting around doing nothing, so except writing songs.
We have spoken to a few artists who sat on records for like a few months because of this same situation. Did you guys ever find yourself revisiting the recordings, or was it just kind of, no, we've done it, we've put it away, we'll release it as is?
Yeah, we wouldn't look, if we revisited all of our recordings, we never would have released anything. So we kind of put it out, warts and all, and then we realised mistakes and things that you could have made a lot better or done a lot of things a lot differently. But that's not the way we work. I think just to do something spontaneous and just get it out there and just get it done and dusted, and then we just move on to the next load of rubbish, really.
The songwriting process, I know originally back in the day when you first started, it was between yourselves and Peter and Bill. And then I'm curious how that's kind of changed over time with the lineup changes, and then how it's reflected in the new record.
Well, the songwriting in the first lineup was basically Peter would write. He would probably write 1 or 2 songs per album when he was on, and I would write most of the music, and then Bill would put his hand up because he wanted to sing a song. So he used to write lyrics to a couple of the riffs. So we just put down songwriting. We shared across the board, and then when Peter left, Robbie Rocket didn't ever want to write a song. He was one of the greatest guitar players I've ever in the country, but he just didn't want to write a song. And so I used to do the riffs, and then Bill would put his hand up and say, I want to sing, I've got some words, I want to sing this, I'll use that riff and I'll use that riff. So musically wise, that's probably why it all sounds the same now. Although having Macca in the band now, it's great to have him to write his own stuff. Like, I encourage Macca to write as much stuff as he wants. Dean contributes too, because Macca and Dean are actually really good musos. So I've kind of lucked out. I've surrounded myself with blokes that know what they're doing, which means I can just get away with blue murder as per usual.
That's very fair. Do you find that the inspiration for like the lyrical content for your songs have changed, or is it kind of in the spirit of Cosmic Psychos that it's you're still using those same kind of what's the word? Yeah, I guess the using the same not content. Yeah.
Yeah, well, sort of. I guess I tend to. We've got in trouble over the years for some of the way some of the songs are written, but I usually write about things that usually piss me off a bit, or just everyday dramas. Sometimes those songs get interpreted the wrong way. I mean, there's a few songs that people go, that's, there's a lot of violence in that one. But, I remember writing a song after watching Once Were Warriors once, and it was basically about domestic violence, and sort of going, fuck, how full on that was. And so, I sort of, a lot of the issues that we write about are sort of topical, but a lot of them are really just day-to-day dramas, like, getting drunk and stubbing your toe. I mean, it happens to everybody every day of the week, so why not write a song about it? That's kind of thing. And I don't know, Mountain of Piss, the song Mountain of Piss to me was probably in my mind, one of the saddest songs I've ever written, because that's been written about a couple of blokes who didn't quite make it up the Mountain of Piss. They're dead now, and the Mountain of Piss got them. So, that's sort of about the struggles with alcohol and stuff. There's a bit more to it than just a funny cartoon and singing along with a heap of yaks, basically.
Do you find that some of the maybe not the younger fans, it could be anyone really, but do you find that any of the fans that listen to Cosmic Psychos sometimes miss that, or they'll come to the gig and it's all about getting pissed and jumping in the mosh?
A lot of people get it. I mean, we've gone through different stages where people really jack up against us a bit, but when they get to know us and actually get what we're doing, I mean, which is not much, but we're singing about stuff that actually really does happen and that kind of stuff. And we're not preaching. We never preach. Another thing about coming to a Psychos gig is actually probably I just like the way the audience feels like they're no different to us and they can just actually relax at a Psychos gig. And, we are by no means a perfect band. No one's perfect, but it's I just find when it's a good Psychos gig, we're just at one with every punter in the room and with everyone there, whether it be people working there or people that have, paid their hard-earned to come and see us. So I think people get it. They get it now more than what they did.
There appears to be a certain, not even likability, but as you just kind of touched on, that I think one of the endearing charms of the band is the fact that you guys do come across as, and I'm sure are, like just lovely, everyday, regular blokes.
Yeah, well, it's always been our way. I mean, for years, people used to say about the band, it hasn't changed much, and that's like if you want to catch up with the band, don't go backstage because we'll be out the front having a beer with someone. And it's like when we do Europe, we're sort of forever. We just love going back over to Europe and back over to the States because you get to a venue and you're catching up with mates. They're people that came along and saw a Psychos gig in the 80s, but we're meeting them, meeting their kids, sitting around having a beer, going out for dinner. As I said, we're happier on the floor side of the stage, not hiding out the back.
Yeah, I think that's kind of in the research that I did for today, it came across that there's a lot of people that love you a lot, one for the music, but also for that fact as well, that you can go up and have a chat with you guys and kind of just are able to relate to you in a very, in a way that people or musicians don't anymore, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it's easy, especially easy for me because I don't really class myself as a musician. This is a little part-time hobby that I do, and I'm just like everyone else, mate. I just, I've got my kids, I've got my work, I've got my family, and at the end of the day, I like sitting up in the shed with my dog having a beer, tinkering away with a motorbike or making grand plans about something.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I can respect that. For a part-time hobby, it's a very impressive one. There's a lot of talk, and then again in the research I did for today, I was aware of the Cosmic Psychos and your back catalogue, but I was less aware of, and it's detailed in the documentary that came out a few years ago about yourselves, but that you guys had quite a big influence in the grunge scene in the 90s.
Yeah, that comes up a lot. We just got along with everyone. And now whether that was a musical influence on them, which I don't know about that, but maybe the attitude about not taking everything too seriously and just the enjoyment factor. I mean, we played with a lot of different bands, but was it the novelty factor? I don't know, but we were just who we are and what we are, and I think we just had a lot of fun. And as I said, didn't take it too seriously. And why would you? It's music's there to be enjoyed, really, not to be not to sort of bring you down. And unfortunately, that happens a lot too. People get too much pressure and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's great. We get to play in front of thousands and thousands of people or 10 people. We end up having just as much fun either way. But it's been watching bands go from the level of we're kicking around like us to all of a sudden being the biggest bands in the world. It's a pretty amazing thing to observe, really, and how they handle it or don't handle it. It's all pretty much it's just interesting to have a look at it all.
Of course. Has there only been, I think some of the bands that you were hanging out with and played with back then in the late 80s, early 90s included like Mudhoney and who else? I think I know that you've influenced Pearl Jam and Melvins as well, but at that stage, did it feel like the Cosmic Psychos could have taken that similar route as well in terms of going stadium band, and was it not something that you guys felt was a Psychos kind of thing?
I don't know. I know Bill and Pete were very ambitious to sort of really get somewhere. And then Bill was very driven to be successful, and I think we had some very, very good management, which also helped get us on some bills, onto some good gigs and that kind of stuff. But look, it was half-assed. There was sort of a few half-assed offers to maybe go and sign something and maybe live overseas for 11 months or something like that. But, geez, it didn't take long to listen to some horror stories from L7, and then you see, the pressure that was mounting on Nirvana and how much that maybe they weren't enjoying it as much as what they used to enjoy it. And then, just as I said, and then L7, they went and signed I think it was a 6 or 7 album deal. And then, boy, they made them work for 11 months of the year. It just seemed like that would be a nightmare where, we were in that position where we could go off and play, and, it wouldn't matter. You could be in New York, London, Paris, wherever you name it, we can go there, but we can still come home the next day and just go and have a beer in the pub. So quite happy with that one. I'm very happy the way it turned out,
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
I can definitely understand. I think it is very admirable that a lot of people would, I think, like, as you said, there are some ridiculous deals in music, 6-7 album deals, all that kind of shit. And I think that the fact that you guys have continued to do your thing on your own terms is a very impressive feat.
Well, and as I said, it all goes down to the motivation and ability. So we're working within our constraints. I don't think we could do much else. Well, it's just, we just do what we can do. Man's got to know his limitations, as Clint Eastwood once said.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. The Cosmic Psychos are also known around Australia as one of the best live acts to see next month. Actually, the end of this month. Sorry, you guys are going back on tour, hopefully, with all COVID things aside. Are you excited to be able to take this record on the road?
Yeah, look, we are. We're sort of really keen. It's the longest break I've had for 40 years without playing live. We've only done one show this year, and that was at the Forum in Melbourne. We had to do 2 shows in the one day because of the people per square metre, whatever it is. And no, it's just good to get out again because I just want to spend time with Dean and Macca and Al and everyone else that we know around the venues, because we're all going back to places we've played before and we know everyone there, and catch up with our mates and just I'm just really disappointed the way the music industry and the whole entertainment industry has been treated through all this. It's crazy. I mean, when we did the gig at the Forum, I think you could only have 600 people at each show or something like that. Tickets were limited, but you stick your head out the door and you watch a tram go past and there's 40,000 people at the footy. I mean, really? it's sort of a bit disappointing that way. And and I'm all right. We're lucky. We're one of the few bands that have, we've had something else to do. And all I've ever said to the younger bands that we play with is don't give up your day job because you never know what's going to happen. Well, bloody well happened, didn't it? So we're okay. People that work in the industry, they're not okay. And a lot of the younger bands, they're not okay too. So it's quite a sad thing what's happening. Is everyone still going to be still doing it in a couple of years? I don't know.
Exactly. We've been talking to a few people. Do you think that the government have kind of let down artists and musicians when, as you said, seems to be that there's 40,000 at the footy, but 100 people inside the forum?
Yeah, and it's like, look, I don't like criticising anyone because I'm not up there with everything. But look, it just appears to me, in my humble opinion, that they've really pulled the wool out of the rug out of underneath the feet. And it's, as I said, we're lucky because we've been doing it for that bloody long and we don't plan to stop. We reckon we've got another 15, 20 years. As long as our hearts are beating, we'll keep going. So we're in a beautiful situation where we don't have to go anywhere, and we'll just bumble along. But I just feel for the crew, the lighting people, all the way for the people that pick up the empty cans at the end of the night. I mean, it's just devastating. It's devastating, and unfortunately, a lot of the younger bands work in the entertainment industry, do a bit of bar work, or they try and keep involved in that whole circle. Well, they've got nothing. They can't play. They can't even pick up a dirty glass. It's really I really feel for a lot of, especially the younger bands.
It is a bit of a dire situation for them at the moment. So hopefully, in the next few months, vaccines, everything else that rolls out, that we're able to get to some normalcy with gigs and things like that. As you kind of touched on, it's almost 40 years. I think next year is 40 years since the inception of Cosmic Psychos. Can we expect anything in celebration?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about that yet. Haven't really thought about it. So we'll wait and see. Yep. I guess something might pop up. Something might pop up somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's very fair. We will keep our eyes peeled for that. I'm curious on your thoughts, Ross, in terms of, I guess you call them the next generation of kind of Australian punk. I feel that there's a bit of a through line with yourself and bands like the Chats. Have you kind of come across those bands, and I guess what are your thoughts on them continuing or carrying the torch that was once lit by yourselves?
Oh, look, I think it's great. I mean, we gave a little nod to the future of Australian rock in the Mountain of Piss animation video, where we've got the Chats make a little appearance, the Dune Rats make an appearance, and Amyl and the Sniffers make an appearance. And we've been lucky enough to play with all those bands. The Junies, when they were just bubbling under, and then taking the Chats on tour with us a few years ago, and then also doing a heap of gigs with Amyl and the Sniffers. And I mean, with young bands like that, and there's more. There's a lot of really, really, really good bands out there that we've played with. And I think, once, hopefully, when there's the proper support and everything. But no, I'm very happy with the future of it. I mean, look what Amyl and the Sniffers are doing overseas now, and look what the Chats are doing overseas. I mean, probably Australian music is more popular, say, in the UK now than what it's been since maybe AC/DC first went over there back in the late 70s. They're playing some pretty serious audiences and stuff over there.
It is. I think that Australian music as a whole is having a really good moment. But the punk scene seems to be doing quite well in terms of, as you said, Amyl and the Sniffers and the Dune Rats as well. I think that you've got all these Australian punk bands kind of just kicking goals in Europe, the US, and even within the Australian scene. I think the Dune Rats are on who is it? Someone like a pop star's new album. They're kind of pushing those boundaries and getting it out there.
Yeah. Oh no, it's great. And you know what? They're all really good people too. They are lovely, lovely people to deal with. as I said, we had a ball on tour with them. It's sort of, I'm old enough to be all their dads, if not their granddad. But when we're out there having a few drinks and having a bit of fun, it's like we're all exactly the same age with a beer in our hands and just having a laugh. And those bands, look, I don't know the ins and outs. I'm sure everyone has their moments, but see, Psychos, we don't argue about anything because it's why would two bald men argue over a comb? So. But look, we love their company and a lot of other bands. There's so many other bands out there that we've played with they're just great to deal with, and just great to hang around. Great, fantastic.
No, it is a very exciting time in Oz music, as we said. One last thing I wanted to touch on was, as you said, we were talking about Mountains of Piss, we were talking about having a beer. For a very beer-focused band, you guys have gone and released 2 wines. The Cosmic Psycho Shiraz and the Blonde Psycho.
Yeah. Well,
is this from your vineyard or your cousin's vineyard?
Yeah, no, it's from my vineyard here at the farm. So I think I remember seeing the AC/DC wine released years and years and years ago, and I thought, oh, yeah. Anyway, that was just, I don't know, a truckload of bloody bat piss from South Australia. It was horrible. I know people have bought it. It was absolutely horrible wine. I remember thinking, well, got a vineyard here. We should do, just for a laugh, we'll do a band wine. And basically my cousin found a couple of barrels of wine that he was storing for me, and I went, oh, bugger it. So we just sort of thought, look, we'll just do a limited run. It's actually not a bad drop, and it's been quite a good, fun thing to do, actually. Just sort of, I don't mind the odd glass of wine. I've got 10,000 vines, and I've sort of gone off drinking wine, 23, 24 years looking after a vineyard. No, that's why I like beer.
Could we expect a Cosmic Psychos beer at any point?
That has been talked about, but again, that sort of all got shelved sort of before the world fell apart. Could be, but I'm actually, later on today, I'm going to go out and start pruning. We're going to hopefully have enough Merlot next year to do a Mad Macca Merlot. So there could be another one coming up.
That's very exciting. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that one, and we'll make sure that we put the links in the podcast episode for the current wines that are out.
No worries. It's a good drop.
It's we haven't got it here in we're based in South Australia. We haven't got it here yet, but we'll make sure we get some bottles over.
No, good. No, we'll get some. We'll get some headed over that way. It's actually it's a bit of fun. It's a good drop. And I'm not putting down South Australian wine, by the way. When I said AC/DC used a truckload of that piss, it was good wine over there.
Look, I know we've got some good wine and some wine that is bat piss, so I there was no offence taken. Ross, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for being on the podcast, and congratulations again on Mountain of Piss.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much, and take care.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Ross Knight for his time. Mountain of Piss is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to stream the record or buy tickets to their tour. We also want to give a huge shout out to Amy at Deathproof PR for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our guests' picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlist streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.